Welcome back, everybody, and thanks for tuning in today. We have another wonderful interview. Those who have been around a long time might know KM because we spoke several times before on my other channel previously, and she is one of my authors at Creative James Media that I work with. So, without further ado, let's jump into this conversation about her book series, hobbies, and just whatever other mischief we're going to end up getting into today. How are you this morning?
I've got a cat that decided she has to have scritches but not be held.
I mean, it's just, isn't that all cats most of the time, though? They're like, I want food or I want scratches or just leave me alone.
Yeah.
Why don't you introduce yourself a bit for those who may not be familiar with your work?
What was that?
Why don't you introduce yourself a bit to those who may not know of your work?
Okay, well, I am KM Warfield. This is my cat Muse. And I wrote the Heroes of Avoch series, which is Scales and Stingers, Shield and Scepter, Sword and Soul. It's very character driven, very focused on the found family concept, or as I recently found a better term, the forged family conflict concept, because they go through fire with each other and then some. I'm a firm believer in bad things happen to good people in real life, it should happen to them in books. And then I've got the wonderful trifecta of anxiety, depression, and CPTSD, and which
All
is
the fun things.
huh?
All the fun things.
Oh, just all the fun things. And when you're on antidepressants, you don't like heat. It's summer. I'm starting to get grumpy at people and just not happy at about 75. My office mate and I are having a weird time right now because I want it cool, because seriously, I could just start sweating in a drop of a hat. And she's a lover of the heat.
No.
So I now bought a little fan for my desk, and it actually is helping quite a bit.
I had to do the same thing because lately it's been, by the time I leave the house officially at like 8 in the morning, it's been 80 to 85 by that time. It's not fun.
Yeah, when you're on those meds, 80 to 80, I swear what I'm feeling is a good, it's like it's 10 at least 10 degrees warmer than what the thermometer says.
Yep. It's people don't realize that a lot of those kinds of medicines too, and especially like the SSRIs, they will um, they mess with your temperature and the regulation of how like the sun affects you. It makes you more sensitive to light and heat.
Yeah.
So it's
Well, then throw on postmenopause hot flashes.
just the trifecta, it seems.
I'm Wiccan. If things don't come in threes, things aren't right.
That sounds about right. Um, One cool thing that I like about your trilogy is that it is kind of based and set off of an actual D&D campaign. Can you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that?
Well, most of the main characters being Thea, Janari, Adam, Kaylin, Pan, Helix. Those were all in a 3.5 year D&D campaign that I either helped run, I was helping run, and I was playing in it. I was playing Thea. Yes, she's one of my favorites. And I mean, we were gearing up towards the end of the campaign right when the pandemic hit, and we had to go virtual for a while, which none of us enjoyed. And I found out how much of an extrovert I really am during the shutdown, and I just started. I can't let go. I and I had written little tiny things to like fill out things that happen between game and things that little fleshed out stuff of what in character stuff. One of the most fun things was one of our players had a work change schedule wise early on, and he couldn't play for 6 months. And he did Gennari, and I'm like, we're all like, dude, there's a spot at the table when you're done, when you get switched back, no worries. And so I wrote a whole thing where his character in the game, his god pulled him off for another reason. And so every now and then I throw little stories out about what was happening with Gennari and just keep him constant with what we were doing, and so he could level up and stuff. And at the very end, the last time before he came back, the last story, Thea's god showed up to him and basically said, hey, if she goes evil, please kill her. And he didn't give me a lot of feedback during this time, which I'm like, I'm playing with somebody else's character here. I'm hoping he's okay with this. And he gets in, we're having fun. He ends up sitting next to me at the table that day and get Gennari back in with the game. And at some point he just turns to me, so Thea, how are things with you? And it was like, yes, he got it. He liked it. He's good with this. Yay. But that's one of the things that I pulled into the book. A lot of book one is stuff that happened or very similar happened to game. But that is where Gennari has this constant thing in the books about asking Thea about how things are with her. And that's directly from the game. And it goes through all 3 books. I remember Jean messaged me when she was working the copy edits on book 3. And she goes, do you know how many times Gennari says this in this book? I looked it up. I go, yeah, but look what she's going through. And that's how he checks on her mental health and emotional health. And she's like, okay, now it makes sense.
What was the other players' reactions when you're like, hey, I'm doing this?
They loved it. They really did. They're all behind it. Helix was actually played by my husband. And, certain characters had to come and go because I found it was extremely difficult. Oh, Nat's another one that was from the game. I knew I was forgetting somebody. Sorry, Rob. And so it's like I couldn't work. I know I can work really well with just a core group of like 4, maybe 5, but I get above that and I start really forgetting somebody's there as things progress. So Pan, who was played by my son, showed up in book 1 and a very little bit in book 2. And I think he's mentioned in book 3. I don't remember off the top of my head. And then Nat doesn't show up till book 2, and he continues through most of book 3. Helix gets mentioned at the end of book 2, and you meet him and you're around him for about 2 or 3 chapters in book 3, but he has one of my favorite lines in book 3. So
when would you say your writing journey first began? Because if I remember correctly, this isn't your first series. You've written other books under
I wrote other
names.
books there under the pen name of Kate Marie Collins. I was with another publishing house. I had probably 15, 20 books out between short stories and stuff. And my publisher and I parted ways. That's the polite way of putting it. The nail in the coffin for me was when they tried to say that perhaps the reason my books don't sell is I use too many big words like acknowledged and constricted.
Okay. I don't see that. That
I
doesn't make
think
sense.
knowledge was a word I learned in grade school on a spelling test.
Yep.
Um, and I was thinking, I saw this, and I'm thinking to myself, Tolkien invented an entire language.
Yep.
That doesn't stop his sales. This is not the right place for my books.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of things that, again, pandemic in some ways was really good for me because I figured out how to set boundaries and stuff. I was a bit of a pushover till then, honestly. And a lot of things that she would suggest trying, I would do, but it squashed my voice. It really did.
Right.
She'd be like, "Oh no, people like short stories, stuff like that." And she thought it at one point. She said that people don't like to think when they read.
That's kind of the whole
Whole
point.
point is to find a world that you can escape into and imagine and not worry about what's going on next door,
Right.
or that you're locked into your house for 3 months. um and so 2019, I got my rights back, and I had time with an agent for a short time, and we revamped a couple of my books, and so forth, and that wasn't going well. And then when the pandemic hit, I'd already been writing these little shorts for the game, and the pandemic hit, and I'm like, dove into it.
Right.
Because book one, Scales and Stingers, the first draft was done in less than 3 months.
Wow.
Of course, I wasn't working for two of those.
That helps.
But yeah, so yeah, some of those I would love to revamp one day, but I'm really struggling with the I want to write, because usually when I want to write, I'm in the middle of doing, like, I'm at my day job because now I'm working full time, and I'm like, ah. So yeah, I'm still fine, because when I write, I absolutely love high muse, to just sit here. I'll like open everything up, get my music going. Everyone say hi to Muse again.
Muse wants to be
Um,
famous.
you're gonna be internet famous. That's why the tail. And I like just get my music in, get the door shut, have the cat be appeased in some way, and I just close my eyes and let what's in my head go, and my fingers find the words, and that is such a good feeling, just to be in that zone. And I can be, when I'm really really into it, that's like a 3 to 4 hour thing, and I'm really trying to figure out how I can still get that rush, that just, oh my god, this feels right rush, when I only have like an hour or two, you know.
Yeah, that would be hard, honestly. I just because I have to do something similar. Like I can't do like 5 or 10 minutes because then once I'm done, I have so many things in my head, and then I can't focus on what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
that's
I am slowly working on a fourth book, for the world. It'll be a standalone. You don't have to have read the stories. It'll take place about 3 years after the events in Sword and Soul. And you're dealing with people who survived the book. Not to give any spoilers. And it's just, I'm about 3 chapters in, and I know where it's going. I'm still in the process of figuring out how to get it there.
right.
And so it's like, okay, so I'm only figuring out a section at a time. And then once I get that section, oh, yeah, let's get that out. Provided I'm not exhausted or trying to do 65 million other things.
That seems to be the case with a lot of things anymore. It's like I don't have time for writing because it's like, well, being an adult is calling. um, Kind of shifting gears here. I want to kind of talk about in-person events because that's something you thrive on.
What was that?
Um, I want to talk about in-person events.
Oh, I love those.
Um, so we once had a conversation about setting up your table and kind of I don't want to say like appealing to everybody, but kind of drawing the eyes
Yeah.
to come over and check everything out. And one of those things was table mascots.
Ah,
So
you
I
want
want
to
to,
talk about Nom Nom?
yes, yes. So
I would show you Nom Nom, but he is currently at the office, not here. But yeah, Nom Nom is a stuffed mimic that my friend Rob, who actually originated the character of Nat, gave me. And it started a collection. I started getting all these little stuffed D&D figures and stuff. And last time I went to Emerald City Comic Con, I ended up with a stuffed Tiamat. She's huge. And if Tiamat could be cute, this would be her. And so this was a month or two before the launch for book 1. So, and I really want to give a shout out to Coal Street Game Vault in Enumclaw, Washington. They hosted me on their D&D night for all 3 books and had an amazing time. That group was so much fun, and I'm trying to work with them about, we should just go back one time. I haven't been there for a while. You got some new D&D people in there. But I put Tiamat on the table, brought her with me, put her on the table. I'm like, this is this huge stuffed 5-headed multicolored dragon that's going to draw the attention. Well, Rob came to the event, which I, being supportive, I love the man. And the first thing he said to me is, "Where's Nom Nom?" I'm like, "At my office?" And he goes, "No, Nom Nom belongs on the table." And ever since then, I have had to not just remember to bring Nom Nom with me, which my office mate is very good. She'll look at me and she goes, "It's Friday. You have an event this weekend?" "Yeah." "Take Nom Nom. Put him in your bag now." And not only do I have to have Nom Nom on the table, I have to take a photo every time and send it to Rob to prove to him that Nom Nom is on the table. But so many people love it because it's one of the rarer D&D stuffies is this mimic. And I was at Geek Girl Con last year, and people were coming up, "Oh my God." So they were so enamored and wanting to give, taps and scritches and everything else to Nom Nom. We started counting how much Nom Nom love was going on. So yeah, Nom Nom usually presides near the treasure box with the loot, because I believe every good adventure ends with treasure. And so I give these away at my in-person events. They're just little bags. They have my card. They have the card for friends of mine who've started their own custom dice business and resin molds. There's a sticker. There's a little gem. This is one of them because I lost it and haven't put away yet. And there is a dice that's made by Nighthawk TTRPG. And then there's a necklace, and the pendant on each, just a little charm necklace, super easy to make and not expensive. but the charm on each one is it either relates to one of the titles or one of the concepts in the series. It's not just random, oh, let's throw flowers and stuff, because there's not a lot of flowers going on. Since there's such that big emphasis on the forged family, I found a bunch that it just takes it just say family. And so there's a sword, there's usually a set of scales for Keros. There's sometimes scorpions because that's Loch and On's favorite animal, and she's got quite the long reach. I've had shields. I got scepters for a while. But they were so expensive. I spent like $30 for like 15 of them. Yeah, they were pricey. So I haven't gone back to getting more of those. They were cool, but they're a little pricey. I've had hearts with dragon scales type things in them. I've had dragons. A big one right now is I've got a bunch of musical notes because we've got the character Caitlin who's a bard, and so yeah.
What would you say has been the most helpful and the most important piece of writing advice that you've ever received?
Early on, I was fortunate enough to be taken under the wing by an author I truly admired, Nick Pallotta. The man, he's one of the few people that could write a pun in a book that was so perfect I would fall over laughing. I mean, seriously, good. If you ever want to have a lot, just go between groaning and holding your head, just holding your gut because you're laughing too hard because you can't believe he went there. Pick up a copy of That Darn Squid God. He wrote it with another gentleman, and it's steampunk before steampunk was cool. It's several decades old, but he I found him on Facebook. I sent him a very polite, hey, I really enjoyed your books, etc. And he actually sent me a friend request, and we talked quite a bit. And he taught me a lot about the business end of things, because a lot of new authors especially do not understand that there's a business behind this. They think, oh, all I do is write a book and I send it off, I get a publisher, and I start making millions.
Yeah.
But at one point I had someone in an online writing group that kept going, your voice is too passive. It needs to be more active. You need to stop using ly adverbs. Da, 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 da. I love me a good ly adverb. And so I asked him, I go, does that really matter? And he's like, the end result is, did it sell? Then it's good.
Right.
And the rest is simply, see, there's your ly. It's simply a matter of your voice. And there are, outside of, there are some grammar and spelling things and, formatting and stuff like that. But it's your voice that's more important. Yep. It has to be a story you wanted to write, because if you're writing a story somebody else wanted to write, it's not going to be the same.
Yeah, I think you can also tell if you write something that you don't feel passionate about, or like say you lose passion for, people can see that, especially when you're talking about this book or this particular story. People can see that you're just not that into it yourself, and that's going to be like, I don't want to read this. The author doesn't even care to read this.
And that's the thing. Of the series, Sword and Soul is my favorite, book 3. And I have found myself more than once going to it for check a continuity thing or whatever for the one I'm writing now. And next thing you know, I'm suckered into reading it. And I can read it not as the person who wrote it, but as a reader. And so from about chapter 13 on, next thing you know, I'm up, I got to finish it. And I know what's happening. I wrote the dang thing. But I do enjoy reading it. And so, yeah.
That definitely shows too. It's just kind of the presentation, so to speak, for people. I'm going to throw you a hard question. I know it's early, but if you could
I
have
have not
lunch,
had my coffee.
You're late to the game. If you could have lunch with any author, dead or alive, and pick their brain and talk books, who would it be and why?
First and foremost, it would be Nick Pallotta. Unfortunately, he passed away. The other is I'm torn. I mean, every time I write fantasy and I cannot read Tolkien. There is something about how he writes that just drives me insane. I tried when the movies came out, and I tried very hard when the movies came out. And, it's just like every time I try, I get a better appreciation for what Peter Jackson did. Especially like in the books, it takes Frodo 6 months to leave the Shire. It's not the you're in danger, get out of here. It's, oh, let's set up all this reason why I'm going to be gone for so long with everybody around me, so nobody wonders. Yeah. And so that, but he's got a very vivid imagination. So at the same time, I'm like, Tolkien would be cool. Possibly David and Lee Eddings. Only because I loved the Belgariad and the Malorian. Those series, I absolutely loved them. They gave me my first sense of reading a book where the people felt like real people. They were saying they had dialogue that I would say, that my friends would say. It wasn't all, oh, I'm going to be the hero, let me go off and do this. It's like the hero is sitting there going, why me? Why does this have to happen to me? And there's a lot of character growth and stuff, and definitely love the character driven stuff. And yes, I know Muse. But there's some things that I've learned since he passed about their private life that, yeah, not so much anymore. I can admire the writing, but that doesn't mean I have to like the person.
Yeah. So I wasn't laughing at your answer. I was laughing at Muse. Oh, Lord.
Well, I've told you how she ended up in my life, right?
I don't think so. I don't remember if you did or not.
Okay. So we had lost a kitty that we'd had for 16 years. And about 6 months later, my husband knew I needed a new kitty. And he takes me to an adoption event. She's 3 months old. She's in a cage. I stick my finger in the cage, and she does this with her claw. Claws in, not letting go. So we finally get me loose, and they come over and they take her out and hand her to me. My husband's like 5 feet away from me. Within 30 seconds, she was purring so loud that he could hear her clearly. And he just turned to the clerk at the pet store and goes, okay, so how much is it going to cost me for the cat to finish adopting my wife?
I love it.
I don't own her. She owns me. She gets after me if it's past bedtime. It's like, Mom, it's bedtime. Why aren't you in bed? Mom, I want to go to sleep, because she sleeps on me. She starts every night sleeping on me, and then she moves once she thinks I'm asleep or I'm about to go to sleep. I spent a glorious week in Scotland in 2018. And at some point, my son sent me a text. Mom, are you someplace where I can call you, FaceTime you? And I'm like, yeah, what's up? And so he FaceTimed me and he goes, hold on. And he goes to find Muse. And I'm like, he turns the phone around and goes, talk to your damn cat. Apparently she'd been walking around the house looking for me and yowling for almost an hour straight. And so I talked to her through the FaceTime and she calmed down and she was fine the rest of the time I was gone. I lost my parents 7 months apart, and she was not quite a year old. We'd just gotten her like a month earlier when Mom passed. And I had gone over to the other side of the state. We were going to inter both of them at the same time. My class reunion was that week, and we were doing a number of, let's take care of a lot of little things. And I woke up at like 3 o'clock that morning and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go. And got in the car, started driving home. And I pull into the driveway. She was sleeping on the bed. I pull into the driveway. My husband's doing something for his job at the table. And next thing he knows, he hears my car pull up and then he hears a thud. And looks up, and Muse wakes up from a dead sleep at the sound of my car, runs out the front door, and is sitting on the porch waiting for me.
That's dedication.
Yep. I am owned by a cat.
I think it's safe to say that most people that have cats are owned by their cats.
You know, I've had a lot of cats. I've been owned by one or two, but not all of them. Right. Some of it's like, yeah, not quite there, you know, or they're somebody, you know, their favorite in the house is somebody else and stuff. And I've never been owned to this extent. Never to this extent.
I mean, it's a good thing though.
Yeah, there's actually a cat story in book 3 from the game. Because, well, we just lost him about a year ago, but we had one we named Casper. He was just a white and gray ball of fluff. He was also born to a feral litter under my in-laws' porch in the middle of nowhere in Idaho. But, you know, so every now and then the feral would still come out and stuff. And he was definitely, if you didn't get the warning signs, you were getting shredded. And the warning sign lasted about as long, you know, 0.08 seconds or whatever, you know. You had to catch it fast. And we're all gaming shortly after we could start gathering up again during the start of the pandemic. And because we had enough space in our living room, we could turn things around. People could wear masks. They could stay good 6 feet apart. And we're doing this, and all of a sudden, Rob. So many funny memories from Rob. Stops what he's doing and goes, is this normal? Casper jumped on his lap, paws here, staring in the face like, pay attention to me. And we all looked at him and goes, no. So it's in book 3. They go someplace, a refuge of sorts, and there is a cat that Nat refers to as Purr. Yeah, nom nom Purr. It's also a little bit of how Nat speaks. And there was some stuff that needed to happen with other characters, but I needed to make sure Nat was taken care of. So Purr showed up, and he has this strange connection to Purr, and he just basically went and Nat went and played with the cat the whole time they were there.
I love it. sometimes I wonder. I always say this to my partner at work. I'm always like, we do not deserve animals. We don't. As humans, we
Most
don't.
animals we do not deserve.
Yes,
Some are absolute and total jerks.
this is true. I mainly refer to like dogs and cats because that's all that I really mess with outside of the
Mhm.
occasional, used to be goat and horse. But definitely when it comes to cats and dogs,
We
the,
don't deserve them.
yeah, the way that they are able to tell when something is going on that we might not even realize is coming on yet,
Yeah.
it is just it's beyond me, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's but I mean, I guess that's part of the perk. You take care of them, they take care of you, and hopefully you get to enjoy each other's company for quite a long time.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Um, before we end off today, um, do you have any signings or any events or anything coming up that you want to plug for the people to check out and be aware of?
Not yet. I've put in for Geek Girl Con again, which is in November. I hopefully hear from them soon. I'm actually going to try and get in. Vicki Ann Bush was one of our other CJM authors. She and I tried to share a table at Rose City Comic Con. We're officially on the wait list. It's a month away. Things are not looking good for us having space. But I'm trying to get back into Geek Girl. And there was, also trying for table next year for NorwestCon, which is a huge science fiction fantasy con up here. But yeah, every now and then I try and hit like a comic book store or something. There's one in Olympia, Gabby's Olympia Cards and Comics. Gorgeous place. And Gabby, the owner, is amazing. And she'll let me come, like last May, she let me come set up a table during Free Comic Book Day and sell books. And she doesn't ask for a cut or anything else. She just says, okay, let's put you over here. And, I want to get back out to Cole Street, trying to get little things here and there, but I had a couple hopes this summer that didn't pan out well. I'm trying to get 20 committed people locally because the Barnes and Noble in my area wants to make sure before they have me in for signing that I can bring in at least 20 people.
Right.
Which I don't blame them. It's a business. They're there not to make me look good, yes, but they're there to sell books. And people come in for an author, there's a draw, they'll go shopping. And I understand that. It's not that's one of the other things people just don't understand when I'll just hold an event and everybody's gonna be lining up and no.
I hosted my signing. It was literally the weekend after my book dropped. And thankfully it was, I applied to probably 20 places within a 4-town area of where I live. One coffee shop said yes. And they're like, well, if you don't bring anybody, you don't bring anybody. I'm like, because my selling point was like, hey, I'm bringing somebody with me to help me run my table and kind of keep an eye on things. We both love this establishment anyway, so we're going to be buying coffee. We're going to be buying water. We're going to, be buying one of our pastries that we like. So there will be business. And I'm glad they didn't set a limit because I think I got 2 people the entire 3 hours.
That was the nicest thing, seriously, about Cole Street Game Vault is they made sure to put me in on their D&D night. So there's, 20, 30 people there to game that are already like, oh, really? With the concept. And,
Right.
So some of my most success, though Geek Girl did really well by me. It was a lot of fun. Had a lot of people loving Nom Nom. So yeah.
Well, when some of those come around, let me know, and I will make sure that we put them out for people to be able to come say hi and give Nom Nom scratches, and hopefully buy all 3 books
Yeah.
instead of one. Thank you for giving me some time this morning, and I will talk to you a little bit later.
Sounds great. Thanks for the time, Matt.
Yep.